Bonjour, mes amis. Welcome, everyone, to the First Congregation of Ottawa. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or watching from wherever you may be, you are welcome. I'm the Reverend Eric Meter, this congregation's lead pastor, and I'm thrilled to be with you as Ottawa has given truth to being in the Great White North. This morning, I am joined by our worship associate, Lisa, and musicians, Jody and Pat, and members of our winter choir who will be giving us the gift of music again this morning. And a special mention to Kirk Adset. Will you please stand, Kirk, and wave? This is Kirk's first day as our interim music director. We are so glad you were with us for these months. Thank you. We look forward to getting to know you, hearing your music, being inspired, and perhaps even inspiring you a little bit in turn. Kirk is here with us as a visitor, as a newcomer this morning. He will begin leading music for us next Sunday. And whether I can't see anyone right now, it may be because I need to clean my glasses, our young ones are with us. Honest, in spirit at least. So if we get any, or if anyone else of any age needs to silently get up and move around to stretch your legs during this time of worship, that is just fine. And we're going to start that by welcoming you to rise as you are willing and able as we begin to sing our first song. Mariella, will you help us lead There's a River Flowing in My Soul? This is number 1007 in our teal hymnal.
All right, good morning. Let's hear a lovely song this morning. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, welcome to the First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Lisa, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. Whether you are taking part in this worship celebration from your home or wherever else you may be, whenever you may log on, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabeg territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility for our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all those that have a willingness to understand, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. Do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch during this protracted pandemic. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. And if you are right here in Worship Hall with us this morning and you would like more information about FirstU, it is available at the welcome table at the back of the pews, and Agnes is there to answer any of your questions. And now, here's Brent from our board to highlight announcements for today. Brent?
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, everyone. And I'm feeling very good today because I don't know if there's any other early bird word nerds, but I got today's Wordle in 2, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm feeling pretty good. All the board announcements today can be are extracted from this week's EUU, our weekly newsletter, which has all sorts of stuff in it. There's bridge this going on this afternoon in person downstairs in the basement at 2 o'clock. There are multiple reading groups, one of which has recently moved to Thursday evenings for better accessibility. That's great. Tomorrow night, FirstU's monthly Zoom trivia night is tomorrow, starting at 7 o'clock. It is self-scored, so you really don't have to be good at trivia to join in the fun. Check the Zoom link in the EUU to join. The UU Pride January meetup is this Friday at 7 o'clock. Please email pride@firstunitarianottawa.ca for the Zoom link. And also a reminder of our upcoming religious exploration programs. The youth group meets this Friday evening. Our Whole Lives for ages 4 to 7 starts next week. Coming of Age for ages 12 to 14 starts next week or the week after. Mystery Pals for both adults and kids of all ages starts in February. To learn more about or register for any of these programs, see our website or the EUU. And now, here is Donna with our weekly Environmental Action Group announcements.
Good morning, I'm Donna Bowen-Willer from the Environmental Action Group. We're back again after a bit of a break. Despite snowstorms and travel chaos, we did have a successful holiday. But now the new year is underway again, and there's an edifying climate action page. We've got new events for which to register, updates on Bill 23, comments on COP15, so take a look at that. And we have a new action to mark the new year. We suggest that you choose an environmental group fighting climate change, one of your choice, and make a contribution either of time to them or of money to help them advance their work. There's a link to a partial list of these groups on the climate action page. So click over from the EUU to the climate action page, and let's start the new year thinking of the environment. Thanks.
Thank you, Donna. We encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages and our web pages for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, though as global health challenges continue, many of our activities still take place online. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and however you identify, today you are part of our spiritual community. Welcome.
Brent, Donna, Lisa. We light our chalice this morning to these words by Eric Walker Wickstrom. When we light our chalice, everyone focuses on the flame. Yet it is the oil in the globe, the cotton of the wick, and the oxygen in the air around us that make the flame possible. As leaders, we are not called to be a lone beacon on the hill. Rather, we are meant to work together so that we might together shine. Our chalice is lit. Come, let us worship together. And sometimes worship can be a little bit like fun.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Carol Card.
I'm Sharmila Curry. Carol, can you help me solve a mystery?
Well, sure, Sharmila, because I'm your pal.
Okay, great. I've heard that there's a fun activity coming up for adults in the congregation to connect with some kids and families in our religious education program.
Oh, you're talking about the Mystery Pals activity. Yes, it's a great way to get to know some children and to have them get to know you.
But how does it work, Carol?
Well, you get to exchange some small mystery gifts with your child for 4 weeks, and then there will be a time to actually meet this mystery pal.
Wow, that sounds like fun. But what type of things could we exchange?
Well, there are lots of possibilities. It could be something related to an interest that you have. Maybe you like to read, so you could perhaps give a bookmark and talk about what kinds of things you read. Or maybe you like the sea, so you could give a seashell and talk about what that means to you. Or you could write a joke. Do you want to hear a joke?
Okay.
How does Jack Frost get to work?
I don't know.
By icicle.
Oh, that was pretty silly. Okay, so now back to Mystery Pals. So I drop something small each week to help my Mystery Pal learn some things about me, and my Mystery Pal does the same thing. That way, when we meet, we already know a bit about each other. That sounds great. But why are we doing this?
Well, first of all, we all love a mystery, right? And think how exciting it will be to pick up something that your mystery pal has left for you and to know that your young mystery pal is doing the same thing. Plus, we know it's important for more children and adults in our congregation to develop connections with one another. It can be a special bond for a long time.
That makes sense. I love mysteries. What about you, Carol?
Well, I had a mystery gift not long ago at my door. There was a bag, and it had some homemade bread in it. And getting that made me feel so pleased and grateful.
You know, I really want to take part in this Mystery Pals program. You said it starts on February 14th, right?
That's right, and it runs for the following 4 weeks, or 3 Sundays, sorry. So that's the first one plus 3 to make 4.
So how do I sign up?
I'm so glad you asked. The easiest way will be to come to the back of Worship Hall after service today and just give me your name and your contact information. Or you can email our RE director, Neil Yaxley, before January the 31st. And some people have already signed up, but we'd really like to have more.
I'll do it. but as long as you promise not to tell any more dumb jokes.
Okay.
I see one young one in the house in addition to myself. So I'm still going to ask you to sing us out. And I'm going to walk out, and then I'm going to walk back. Don't worry.
Our centering words this morning are adapted from Gretchen Halley. Cast your vision here in the middle of the hardest moment, the turning of so much that is new. This life with so much worth saving, this fragile faith. For the children born now into the world as it is, with the threat of war and whole continents burning, still, while the memory lingers of holidays chaotic and miraculous into the day, offer the vision you've tried to talk yourself down from. Your wildest dreams, your audacious aims, the beauty that whispers to you to follow and build and become. For this world coming undone by distraction and greed and fear, this world divided by made-up borders, fake fights, and all that needs forgiveness. Here, stir up your steadfast hope, your resolute clarity of what remains possible. Be generous with your dreaming and brave. All paths to the future are born in this courage of imagination, this willingness to shed, to salvage, to start again, to be this blessing for each other, to be this blessed.
Each week at this time, we pause in honor and reflection of the joys, sorrows, and challenges in our lives and those of our community. This week, no such notification requests came in, which the people at the welcome table in the back said, "That's a good thing, isn't it?" Perhaps. We mark these things by placing a stone in a bowl of water. As you know, ripples don't end. They just keep going. Beyond the bowl, beyond this building, beyond the pews, out into the world beyond. I've been asked, because often, so often, our stones are placed for sorrows and challenges, to always remember a joy each Sunday, at least one. And so I asked the folks at the welcome table, what should our joy be this morning? And the answer immediately was, we're almost half past January. There's a proud stone. My dog Bowie, the husky mix, lives for this kind of weather. He's all white. When we put him out into our little backyard, he is absolutely invisible and out there laying in the snow for an hour or two, as happy as any proverbial clam. And a stone also this morning, as always, for all that we carry in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, concerns, sources of joy and happiness, sorrows as well. For all this we gather together. For all this we bring the best of ourselves into this world together. Let us move into a few moments of stillness and meditation before we are brought back together through the gift of music. Thank you, Pat. Lisa and I each have a reading for you this morning. The first comes from the ancient scroll called Ecclesiastes. It was written anonymously about 1,400 years ago, though it still resonates for many, at least, today. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to heal and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather them together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace.
Our second reading is entitled Transcendental Etude by Adrian Rich. No one ever told us we had to study our lives, make of our lives a study, as if learning natural history or music. That we should begin with the simple exercises first and slowly go on trying the hard ones, practicing till strength and accuracy become one with the daring to leap into transcendence. Take the chance of breaking down the wild arpeggio or faulting the full sentence of the fugue. And in fact, we can't live like that. We take on everything at once, Before we've even begun to read or mark time, we're forced to begin in the midst of the hard movement, the one already sounding as we are born.
I prayed so hard that yesterday's sunshine will continue into this morning. Choir, congregation, I apologize. My prayers were not enough. There's a joke about a Unitarian minister praying in there somewhere. Let's not go there at all. Behind me and in front of you flows the Ottawa River. And if I have it right, it goes that way. Am I right? Good. Anyhow. 5 kilometers towards downtown, on the south end of Remick Falls, stand more cairns, piles of rocks balanced upon rocks, than I would ever wish to count. They are majestic. They are wonderful. They are, because there are so many of them, completely over the top. When I saw them the first time, well over a year ago now, I said, someone either very serious or has a fabulous sense of humor, or probably somewhere in the middle. And if you stand before them, you cannot help but give them the attention they're due. Balancing rocks is a precarious thing to do. It takes time, concentration, patience, and I also suspect a liberal amount of adhesive epoxy. But that really doesn't matter, that last one, because any adhesive used on those rocks will, I dare say it, only delay the inevitable. Even if the stones wear down before the epoxy does, or whatever adhesive material is used, the stones will fade, they will diminish. Air or water currents will aid gravity, and the currently carefully placed cairns of stones will fall. But until then, it very much appears like magic is afoot. Gravity is being defied, and visitors cannot help but smile. Balance is like that. We love the artistry of it. We relish the ice dancer spinning on the very tip of their ice skate. We gasp at the trapeze artist in mid-flight, hitting the ring again, the bar. We love it when gravity is seemingly, and if only temporarily, defined, when the rules of what we may call entropy are given pause. Years ago, when I studied photography, and here I will say, don't let me put on any airs. It was Photography 101 at the local College of Art and Design, and I was in my last term as an undergraduate. I had learned that my college had a reciprocal arrangement with the art college, and so I could take a class there free of charge. So I got on the 21A Lake Street bus from St. Paul and went over to Minneapolis my last semester as an undergraduate and took Photography 101 with a professor we'll call David, because that was his first name. David talked to us throughout the class. His only rule was that no one bring him cat pictures to look at. He had had his fill. That was what I remembered from the first class, and I will always remember that. Nothing against cats, I want to be clear. But towards the end of his work, I'm skipping ahead, he talked about some time when he was studying abroad and was studying both photography and dance. And he said he was amazed after dance class. He was inspired to go take pictures, but he didn't understand why most people took pictures like this when they could take pictures like this, moving around. And I didn't bring my camera. I forgot to. Where's my cell phone? It's somewhere, I hope. Oh, it's here. You know, you can take pictures from different angles and show different things that we normally don't see, and different viewpoints do help capture attention somewhat, give us a fresh perspective. And I will always remember that as well, that if you want to gather people's attention, show things from a little different perspective. And I have to say, this doesn't fit with the rest of what I'm going to be saying today. It struck me as odd that the photographs he showed us that he had taken were obviously taken with a large format camera with a sheet of film at least this big, which requires a sturdy camera and a heavy, sturdy tripod. We never got to see any of those photographs he took directly after dance class. I kind of wish we had. But there are several kinds of balance. I've been talking about physical balance. Stones piled on stones. The physical balance of a leap, landing, safe, spinning on an ice skate. There's also the balance of the major elements in our lives. We talk about, and I think we still talk about, although perhaps less so as COVID has continued, about the need to maintain a work-life balance? Do we still talk about that? Is that still a factor? Even if you're retired, you're still probably working, doing something, volunteering, or having another interest. I don't believe that creative people stop being creative. It just may change forms. Anyhow, I remember back to my installation with you, our installation ceremony late last October. My colleague Kathy Sage, as part of her short video charge to the minister, talking about, well, she was urging me to maintain that balance in my life, not only for me, but as a model to you. And because this work of ministry, whether what I do with you or you do with one another and or myself to further the aims of this church, none of that work will ever, should ever be complete. We need to remember to try to keep things balanced. Otherwise, we'll burn out far too quickly. Nods? Does this meet anyone's experience? Okay, at least a couple. I'm glad for those reminders to keep a balance. And yet, I have to admit that over the last year, I've noticed something different in my personal attention during each day. It seems like if I'm doing something, I've been doing that thing forever. And there's a sense of eternity in it. Not the sense that it lasts throughout time, but a sense of timelessness. When I'm brushing my teeth, it feels like I've always been brushing my teeth. When I'm driving to work, it feels like I've always been driving to work. Now, that may sound negative. I don't mean it to. When I'm here before you talking, it feels like I've been doing this all of my life. It may feel that way for you too, I don't know. I don't mean it to sound negative. These moments, these lingering sensations are simply reminding me who I am. And this is what I do. This is a core part of me, even if it's brushing my teeth. I don't feel a sense of imbalance or balance during those moments because balance isn't necessary then. As long as I'm moving from one thing to another, it's all okay. And in fact, that moving from one thing to another is the key of what I want to talk to you today. Think back to when you learned, this may sound ultimately silly, but think back to when you learned how to ride a bicycle. There were some skinned knees, weren't there? Remember how hard it was to stay upright on a bike when it's standing still or moving really slowly. It's really hard. I mean, professional Tour de France riders can do it. Some people riding downtown can do it, but they're working hard, and it's only for that till you get through the red light. Then they're off moving again. The balance comes with momentum when you're moving the bike forward. I'm a terrible ice skater. When I'm moving slow or standing, my ankles do this and my knees do that. And I haven't ice skated in over 20 years, and I'm not really saying I'm going to try this now, although I do want to go skating the canal when it's safe and other people are doing it. But I could skate really well going fast. Stopping was sometimes a tricky thing. But I could do, when I was taking skating lessons at 12, I could go really fast. And the teacher was like, he's going fast, but he can't go slow. I couldn't. But momentum helps keep our balance. In theories of psychological human development, and I'm thinking here specifically of Jean Piaget's standard stages, and sensomotor, pre-operative, concrete operational, and formal operational, and that's as technical as I'm going to get this morning. What we don't focus on is there are periods in our lives between those stages. There is change in the person and the child between those changes. That's where growth takes place. And we get to another place, another level, if you will. In his model, Piaget called those stages periods of disequilibrium, when we're not at balance. And while I studied Piaget in high school and again more as an undergraduate, I'm grateful for my colleague Douglas Taylor for bringing this into the realm of our faith development. Because those periods of disequilibrium, those times of imbalance, are the doorways to the next stage of our lives. Taylor returns to the image of riding a bike, and here he quotes, I'm quoting him, "Imbalance is dynamic. When riding a bicycle, you have imbalance because of momentum, but you have momentum because you pedal first on one side and then the other, and back and forth and so on. You maintain balance through movements of imbalance. Otherwise, you're not moving. This sort of imbalance is healthy and productive, if a bit difficult to manage. In this way, imbalance is the threshold from an old balanced center to a new balanced center. This is valuable imbalance that thankfully only lasts, for the most part, moments. Other sorts of imbalance, he continues, can last a lifetime and yet still be something for which we give thanks. And being that this is the weekend where in the nation of my birth south of here, we remember, if we don't at other times of the year, the late prophet, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. I think of his speech from May of '66, if I have it right, to the Southern Methodist University, where he talked about being maladjusted and how proud he was to be maladjusted to a society that had so much injustice in it. He said to be adjusted to such injustice would be to refute the will of God, frankly. So there are times in our lives, sometimes protracted ones, where we will feel a deep imbalance, and that may be anything but comfortable. But that's where change can take place. And balance, once we've got our momentum again, is pretty much assured. And now, like I did last week, this isn't something I really want to keep doing, but I ended with a short reading last week, and I've got another one for you today. And maybe someday, hopefully not too long, I'll bring these into the readings earlier. This is a piece from Anna Quinlan's book, Being Perfect. And in it, she is also a member of the nation to our south. Well, it'll be clear and then we'll go on. She writes, "Someday, sometime, you will be sitting somewhere. A berm overlooking a pond in Vermont, the lip of the Grand Canyon at sunset, and because we're in Canada, I would rise sunrise in Halifax, or standing at a vista point in the Canadian Rockies, or perhaps you're on a seat in the subway, and something bad will have happened. You will have lost someone you loved or failed at something at which you badly wanted to succeed. And standing there, you will fall into the center of yourself. And you will look for some core to sustain you. And if you have been perfect all your life and have managed to meet all the expectations of your family, your friends, your community, your society, chances are excellent that there will be a black hole where that core ought to be. I don't want anyone, she continues, anyone I know to take that terrible chance. And the only way to avoid it, she writes, is to listen to that small voice inside you that tells you, and this is the heart of the matter, to make mischief, to have fun, to be contrarian, to go the other way. She ends by quoting George Eliot, the female British writer who, to get published, wrote under a male pseudonym. George Eliot wrote, "It is never too late to be what you might have been. It is never too early either." Balance and imbalance. As you'll hear some singers share with you in just a minute or two, let it be a dance. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Pat. This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We have been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of this congregation, you don't need to use the baskets that are now beginning to make their way among the pews. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are given freely and received gratefully. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another.
Please stand as you're able and join us on hymn number 311 in the gray hymnal, Let It Be a Dance.
Yeah, you can sit down. Before we close this time of worship and reflection, a reminder that our online fellowship hour will begin at 11:30. For those of you who would like to access fellowship hour here, you can do so in the lounge out those doors and around to your right. There you'll be able to connect with those joining in from home and have discussions with those joining in person. Those discussions are rich. If our congregations are doing anything right, beyond justice, they're providing a crossroads for people to share life's experience, wisdom, and challenges and ideas. You can do that in fellowship hour. We extinguish our chalice this morning to these words once more from Richard S. Gilbert. As we leave this community of the Spirit, may we remember the difficult lesson that each day offers more things than we can do. May we do what needs to be done, postpone what does not, and be at peace with what we can be and can do. Therefore, may we learn to separate that which matters most from that. Therefore, may we learn to separate that which matters most and that which matters least of all. This morning's chalice is extinguished at the spark of our connections and the light of our faith remains. Pat, will you bless us once again? We are people of both reason and heart, of both memory and hope. May we also always remain people of love, providing a place in this world for our spirit, a place that can best be called home. And now, as we return to the challenge of helping the world come alive in love, let us go forward in peace, my friends.